On the 6th of August 1991, the World Wide Web was released and the internet became our main focus for the future, not only for business, not only for industry, not only for fashion, not only for food, not every single thing we look at, but mainly for how our children and their children will start communicating with one another. That's my most memorable date.
The day the Sultan came to my hometown. When I was a mere 5 years old, the story of Sultan's elephant was retold. 'Twas in London's 7th of May. Oh, what a wonderful day. And luckily, it wasn't even cold.
Thank you. Now, on to our top story. The Queen is travelling around the country to celebrate her Golden Jubilee. Today she visited locations mainly in the northeast. Here she is visiting our little town of Seaham.
I was probably about 4 years old, and I was sitting at home, I was playing TV games, and my brother had this go-kart, and he said, you know, today I want to take you for a ride in my go-kart. So I thought, wow, this is great, and I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. So I jumped in behind him, and we set off down the road. I'm pretty sure I had a very nervous look on my face, and my brother, very relaxed, about 50 meters before this barrier, he just reached behind him and he grabbed my prosthetic leg. And at that stage we didn't have these cool Nike shoes. I had Mickey Mouse shoes at that time. And he stuck this shoe between the wheel and the road, and that's when the go-kart came to a screeching halt.
It was in September '84 that I got an answer to my letter, which I thought was very cheeky, when I wrote to the Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world and asked for an interview. That was the daughter of Nehru, the Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi. Her son, Sanjay, had just been assassinated. At the end of the interview, I mentioned that Ronald Reagan had just had an assassination attempt on his life, and so had the Pope, and Anwar Sadat had actually been killed. I asked her, did she fear death coming suddenly? It was 6 months after this interview that, in fact, Indira Gandhi was assassinated by one of her own bodyguards.
Hello, I'm George Alagaya and I'm presenter of the BBC's News at 6 o'clock. And the memory that I want to talk about is something that happened incredibly 50 years ago in November 1961. That's the time when my family moved from Sri Lanka, one Commonwealth country, to another. We moved to Ghana, which had become the first country in Africa, in black Africa, to become independent. It was a great moment for Africa. It was a great moment for Ghana to be the first country to gain its freedom. And actually, as it happened, it was a great moment for our family, because that's when our fortunes turned round. And that's when I began this journey that's ended up finally in this studio that you see me in now.
The 29th of April 2011, which was the day that Prince William married Catherine Middleton here at Westminster Abbey. And I had the extraordinary privilege of welcoming people to the Abbey, standing at the Great West Door. There was a moment when Catherine got out of the car on her father's arm, and she walked towards me. And people have been speculating about the dress. I'd been thinking, what would it all look like? And she was so strikingly beautiful. I was quite breathtaking, actually, and just smiled as she came towards me. And we had a few moments of conversation before she and her father processed up through the nave of the Abbey. I was leading them, and then I began the service. So it was just one of those pinch me moments. It felt an amazing privilege and a great delight.